a former Rotarian from Burlington. So everybody welcome Jen. We're going to try to convince her that this is the club for her. And Joanna Cole is back. I'm still introducing Jen Murphy as a guest, but she's actually a member now. We just haven't inducted her. So welcome to the club, Jen. And Elena, our most helpful assistant at the front desk. So please keep eating. I don't want to slow down your breakfast. First of all, I want to thank you all for being such great sports. When I send you an email and ask you to do a Rotary Minute or an inspiration, I'm sure you roll your eyes, but you step up anyway. So I'm doing it today. It became apparent in the last few weeks that people are confused about the Rotary Foundation. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it. Rotary is made up of three parts: our clubs, Rotary International, and the Rotary Foundation. The Rotary Foundation was founded more than 100 years ago. It spent more than $4 billion on life-changing sustainable projects. The mission of Rotary Foundation is that it helps Rotary members to advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace by improving health, providing quality education, improving the environment, and alleviating poverty. If you ask what impact can one donation have, for as little as 60 cents, a child can be protected from polio. $50 can provide clean water to help fight waterborne illness. $500 can launch an anti-bullying campaign and create a safe environment for children. The grants that the Global Grants Foundation gives are in 6 categories: basic education and literacy, community economic development, disease prevention and treatment, maternal and child health, peace building and conflict prevention, and water, sanitation, and hygiene. The Rotary Foundation is organized as a public charity operated exclusively for charitable purposes and governed by a board of trustees. The operations of Rotary International, a member organization, are overseen by a board of directors. The headquarters of Rotary International and the Rotary Foundation are in Evanston, Illinois, and we have associate foundations in Australia, Brazil, Canada, Germany, India, Japan, Korea, and the United Kingdom. So that's your little ditty about the Rotary Foundation, in case you ever were anything less than proud of what Rotary does. So next, let's hope I brought my paper. Here it is. So next, for an inspiration. First of all of you inspire me every day. So let's not forget that those around us can be inspirations. Some of you have heard me talk about this before, but one of my great inspiring people is Bryan Stevenson, the African-American lawyer who started the Equal Justice Initiative, intended to work both to get people either overly or inappropriately imprisoned out of prison, and also to change laws about child imprisonment law behaviors. He's actually won, I think, 2 or 3 Supreme Court cases in that regard. I would encourage you to read this book if ever you need something really inspiring to read. But so I'm going to read you a few of the statements that Bryan Stevenson makes. And this is very appropriate as we think about diversity and equality and inclusion. First of all, he says, we're all more than the worst thing we have done. We can't do justice unless we know what else you are. The opposite of poverty is not wealth. The opposite of poverty is justice. Hopelessness is the enemy of justice. We have to stay hopeful. Injustice prevails where hopelessness persists. Hope is what gets you to stand up when you're told to sit down. Hope is what gets you to speak when you're told to be quiet. There is a hierarchy in our criminal justice system. Our system treats you better if you're rich and guilty than if you're poor and innocent. And lastly, he says, we need police officers who see themselves as guardians of the community, not as warriors who see the people as the enemy. And I'll leave it at that.
Very nice. Thank you.
It's called Just Mercy. You're welcome. Just don't take any of my stickers off that. All my important books are very colorful with Post-its all over them. So I have some business announcements. One very important announcement. We've changed the date of the senior luncheon. It is going to be Wednesday, December 14th. And that is mainly so that we can have the hall from 5 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon without any interruptions. So as we get a little closer, we'll talk about people coming in to help set up, people staying afterwards to break down. But Wednesday, December 14th is the date for the senior luncheon. We will have posters. Phil's going to make posters. And Sonia's going to have a phone because we're requiring seniors to RSVP this year. We're going to put up tables for between 80 and 100 people. But we really want to know how many people we're going to have. And the menu is going to be turkey. So all the seniors who've sent me little messages will be happy to know that we're having turkey. So that's it about the senior luncheon. It starts at 12. So it's usually 12 to 1, 1:30, something like that.
People arrive at 9.
Yeah, they'll be sitting out here by 10 o'clock. Lunch is at noon. But we have the hall from 5 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. Another thing that I mentioned to many of you is that I have made it, and I want the people at home to hear this. I have made a table where we're wearing masks except when we're eating. So if any of you, or if you know anyone who's not been comfortable coming, please let them know that we have a table where people will wear masks except when they're eating. And please don't make 1 or 2 people sit alone at that table. There's masks. So if you don't have one of your own, there's some others. I want to mention that we still are looking for website ads for our website. The price is $125 for the year. If you have a business or you know someone who has a business, doesn't have to be in our club, who would like to advertise on our website. And those of you who have checked out our website know that it's a really nice website. So it would be, I think it would be a bit of an honor for a business to put their website on put their ad on our website. And also the Observer will thank, we're going to thank our donors, but we will also thank our website advertisers. That's going to be in December, right? Yeah, in December. I just want to briefly mention December 4th is the tree lighting on the green. We're supplying hot chocolate and coffee. You have to supply hot chocolate and coffee, but it would be really fun if you would come. It's only an hour. It's from 4:30 to 10 away, unfortunately. I'm getting the posters tomorrow afternoon, and we don't have a meeting next Thursday. So the question is, how can I get posters to people who want to put them up? Leslie?
Get them to me, and then I'll have them at the office and people can just come and get them.
Okay. Does everybody know where Leslie's office is? It's the it's the storage facility. I'm sorry, I don't know the name.
Self-storage.
It's on South Brownell Road.
It used to be Armand Fournier.
So I will get the posters to Leslie and you can pick up posters there. I'll talk with you later about connecting.
And if people call ahead, because I don't sit there all day, I go to work, so, call ahead that you're coming to pick one up, and
Okay,
either that, or we can leave them planted in the front lawn, and people can just take one.
planted. Yeah, talk to Leslie. Thanks. So after the meeting today, we need to put the chairs away, but leave the tables up. There's a Christmas bazaar on Saturday. I hope you all will drop by. The church is having it. Carol Bouchard, who's running it, needs 2 strong people. She said 2 strong men, but I don't think that's right. 2 strong people who are willing to help bring 2 tables downstairs from the choir room upstairs. So please see me afterwards if you're willing to help bring those tables down. Another announcement, I'm sorry, I don't know when it's going to appear, but 7 Days is doing an article on Ally Bianchi, the young woman who we built the ramp for in Richmond. And we're going to be mentioned in the article because she contacted me to make sure she'd gotten the story right, that we had built the ramp. And also she wanted to know if we build other ramps. So hopefully that'll open the floodgates of requests for ramps. But anyway, if you get 7 days, or if you don't get it, I would get it for the next few weeks and see if we can see when that article shows up. Fundraising committee is going to meet soon. Andy's going to send you an email if you're on the fundraising committee, so be on the lookout for it. And the last thing is Armand wants to have a word about Toys for Kids.
Thank you, Sally. Can everyone hear me at home?
Oh.
Was that a no or yes?
Why don't you go over to the mic?
Why?
Oh, yes, and also I meant to, I'll wait till she comes back.
Just wasn't sure who it was.
Yeah.
Okay, the barrels have been brought out for the Toys for Kids. They're in place, and all we need now are volunteers to check the barrels periodically. I'd like to remind everyone that this is a good opportunity to meet business owners and establish a relationship with them, and maybe see them come fundraising time. It helped me with the community bank last year. So some of you had barrels last year. Does anyone want to do the same barrel again? Okay, Rick, you had the fire department. And Eric? The library, okay, all right.
You didn't want to have to walk.
Anyone else? Oh, Phil, yes. Sorry, Phil. Rehab, okay. Kismet building, okay. Richmond Dental, I think I know who I could hit up on that one. Wilson Central School, who wants to do school? Anyone at home? Jen? Okay, thank you, Jen. Get the library, the UPS store. I think Marty did that last year. He's not here this.
So he'll be here this morning.
He will, okay. He had a couple of them. I think he had Union Bank and, but I'll hit him up.
You can sign me up for one.
I'm sorry. Okay, we have New England Air, Thomas Chittenden Health Center right up the road here. New England Air is not a big one. I did it last year, and I think I just left everything until the last day because I like to leave some seed in the bottom of the barrel, and they didn't have a whole lot, so I left it there. No, it's on Boyer Circle, but I can do that one again too because it's nearby where I am, so I can do that one. Rick's doing fire department. That's a good one. That's yeah. Hannaford's is probably the next best one. Okay, do you want to do Hannaford's instead of Williston Central School? Okay, all right. Okay, Thomas Chittenden. Thank you, Walter. Anyone at home want to do one of these? I'm not paying too much attention to the screen, I guess, but the banks, M&T, Community Union Bank, UPS store,
Community bank.
Okay, all right.
I will be bringing the manager from community bank next week
Okay,
to the club.
all right. Don't forget to thank these establishments for hosting the barrel too. It's
Sure.
you can, yeah, I think. Anyone else want one?
Yeah, I can do the M&T
bank,
one.
UPS store. What would you
Yeah,
like to do? Well, you want to do the UPS store? Okay,
I'm not gonna do the M&T Bank on Williston Road. I mean Blair Park. This is John Jacob.
I'm sorry, he broke up. Key Bank? Oh, M&T, okay, M&T, okay. John, okay. Okay, New England Federal Credit Union,
Did you get John Jacob?
I did, yes. Okay, and I think that's about it. I just, Union Bank, Jen, you want Union Bank also?
Yes, I'm willing to do two, so whatever you.
Okay, well, I always try to get them kind of together so you don't spread too far, but, okay, thank you, Jen, appreciate it. Okay, so all I have left is New England Federal Credit Union.
It's up there.
Oh, there he is, okay. Okay, thank you, Vince.
Do all the new volunteers know where to?
Okay, yeah, I'll get to that. The drop off is going to be at the old town cobbler, where the town cobbler used to be. I understand the key will be next door at the lampshade store. There's also something about a hidden key box, which I don't know where it's hidden. But if I find out, I'll let you know.
They're closed on Monday.
Oh, okay, good to know. Okay, thank you.
If the key is hidden, then you can get in there any time of the day or night.
Right,
And it's, last year it was right outside the cobbler. There was a mailbox there.
A drop box or something, yeah.
A magnetic little box.
Right.
with the key.
right. Okay. Okay, all right.
So this is Toys for Kids. Is it the Marine Corps?
This is Choice for Kids. It's Marine Corps. It's still Marine Corps. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
There are any companies that want to be new at this? Are there new barrels like we can?
There's always barrels left at the drop-off center, so I'm sure if anyone finds someone that wants to participate, we can get them a barrel.
Do you have all of the slots currently filled?
All except, yes, I have them all, yes,
Oh, awesome.
yes.
Way to go, everybody.
Yeah. All right,
But that would be a good place to have them. You mean
Would-
chef's corner? Yeah, chef's one.
the chef's corner. Yeah, we could
There's a
check.
lot of people that go.
Do you go there could you check with Joseph and see if he's interested in doing that or? We can get the barrel if someone wants to make contact, yeah.
So what company?
The chef's corner. I was mentioning the possibility, because a lot of people go there.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
We can
okay.
think about
All right,
something
and
for
don't forget to thank the merchant for hosting the barrel. That's very important. Show some appreciation. Okay, thank you. Yes, Phil.
Can I just say that it's toys for kids,
Toy-
not toys for tots?
Did I say tots?
Oh, I want to make sure people understand. Because what happened is the guy that ran it decided that Toys for Tots had too many authoritarian organizational requirements. And he got sick of it and he said, okay, I'll run my own. So he runs his own and it's Toys for Kids. And everything they collect goes somewhere to give a child a chance to have a better Christmas. It's not, they don't get any money or anything for it. They just a totally, like what we do in Rotary. Everybody participates for free.
Thank you, Phil.
Thanks, Armand. So, yes, Gary,
Is this business time?
sure.
And I promise I won't cry when I do this, but last week when I read Deb's eulogy, there was a paragraph at the end that I didn't make. Just because I didn't want to stand up there and cry in front of a bunch of adults. It's an embarrassing thing, you know? But in that paragraph, it said that Deb had started an organization called burnpit.org to educate, illuminate, and help people. We have a run, the Deb Beckett Run. I would ask that the powers that be look at making a annual contribution to burnpit.org in the name of Deb Beckett from whatever we happen to make on the run. A percentage, a dollar amount, I don't care, figure it out, but.
Okay,
I don't
thanks,
think we
Gary.
need to be part of that.
We'll make a note of that. Thank you. And thanks to everybody who participated in the Veterans Day ceremony. I thought it went very well. We had close to 50 people there, so it was really nice. And just one last word, please bust your tables soon because she's going to get the dishes done. And now, Susan, you can present our speaker. And after the speaker, we will have our Paul Harris photo. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I also meant to introduce Camille Lovering, who is visiting online. Camille, hi.
Hi,
Welcome.
thank you. I'm enjoying this.
Welcome.
All right, well, I'm very pleased to introduce our speaker, Jane Kearns, who's been the director of the Dorothy Alling Memorial Library since 2019. Jane is originally from Montreal, and she worked 12 years at CAE Electronics in Montreal on commercial and military flight simulator projects as a technical writer and engineering assistant. After moving to New Jersey in 1993, she returned to school to study librarianship, graduating from Rutgers with a Master's of Library Service. She has worked as a librarian since 2000, starting out as an academic librarian, first at Caldwell University in New Jersey, and from 2013 to 2019 as director of the Hartness Library in Randolph, which serves 2 of the Vermont state colleges. The transition from academic library to public library was whirlwind, with the pandemic disrupting operations 4 short months into her tenure at Dorothy Alling Memorial Library, which she described as an unexpected but interesting challenge. Jane has been living in Vermont since 2008. Welcome. Thank you.
Copy there.
Well, thank you so much, Susan, and thank you all for inviting me here today. Susan asked me if I would, give a little background on the scoping and feasibility study for community center and library space that's currently going on. Is everyone aware that that is going on? Great, lots of heads nodding, and a committee member here as well. So the town is, just a little bit of background, the town is looking at assessing the needs for both facilities, the community center and the library, looking at possibly a combined facility. Maybe a combined facility, a standalone community center, standalone new library, standalone community center, and maybe an addition or renovation to the current library, or the establishment of a library branch. So it's figuring out the feasibility of those options. So the contract for the architectural firm that'll lead the scoping study was awarded to Black River Design. And the team will be led by John Hamelgarn, who many of you would probably know as an active, engaged Williston resident. And Black River Design is using a team of subcontractors too, that including engineers, a library consultant, and a community engagement specialist. There's also the select board just finished with the appointments to a 7-member community center scoping and library assessment steering committee a couple of weeks ago, and that committee is going to provide leadership and champion the community engagement piece, which of course is key in figuring out what the town wants to see in these facilities. So from a library perspective, it's very clear that we've outgrown our space. Just to put it in perspective, the last addition to the library was 1998. In that year, we had 32,000 patrons visit the library. In FY19, which was the last normal year before the pandemic, we had 62,000 patrons come through the library. So the community room is heavily used for library programs, but also community programs. And, there's just not enough to offer everything we want to offer, and smaller spaces as well. And our collection, of course, because our spaces remained the same, our collection has remained the same size since '98. So we're constantly weeding to bring in new books. Obviously, we have to keep the collection fresh. And there's parts of the collection that aren't accessible. They're too high, too low. The aisles are tight. And we also have our young adult collection right next to our juvenile collection, which young adults need their own space. And and for anybody who's ever tried to get into the library when there's a school program on or at pickup, it's just not possible. You can't park and you can't get in. So, those are just some of the space constraints that we're feeling. So I encourage you, when the community engagement opportunities come up next year, to make sure that you join in and let people know, let the committee and the consultants know what you want to see in those spaces. Great. Okay, so banned books. Rick, if you could pull that. So this is, you can go to the next one, Rick. This is like a really hot topic, and it's hard not to see it in the news. I just saw yesterday a town in Michigan defunded their library because of LGBTQ titles. And I also saw that Brooklyn Public Library has offered free library cards to anyone, youth who has been impacted by these bans. So you're seeing a lot of talk about this. The next slide, please. So the good news is it is in the news. It's not happening in the background and people are indifferent to it. This Every Library Institute report on voter perceptions, overwhelming majority of voters oppose book banning. And nearly everybody has heard something about book banning and challenges. Thanks, Rick. So just before we jump into the numbers and what's going on, who's defending the right to read and the freedom to read in the country? The American Library Association is a leader in this. And as you can see, the freedom to read statement, which I think everybody would agree with. The next one, please. So the American Library Association defends intellectual freedom through its Office for Intellectual Freedom, the OIF. So they have maintained for more than 20 years a database on banned and challenged materials. And so challenged materials is somebody asking to have something removed from a collection or a program, and banned is a successful challenge. So they build their database by the following news reports, and also a self-reporting tool on their website that's available to report if a book is challenged. One of the most important things they do, certainly as a librarian, is providing confidential support to anyone who is facing a challenge. So you can call them any time of the day and speak to a lawyer, or get any, emotional support, whatever you need in facing these challenges. They'll write letters and provide support in many ways. So Dorothy Alling Memorial Library is a member of the American Library Association. When you come into the library on the right, we have the ALA Library Bill of Rights, the Freedom to Read Statement, and the Code of Ethics. And that's in our library policies, which are approved by the and developed by the Board of Trustees. Next one, please. Rick, next one, please. Well, no. Okay, so the Library Bill of Rights is based on the First Amendment, and it guides us in serving communities and protecting the rights of all patrons. Basically, materials will not be excluded because of origin, background, or views of those contributing to their creation.
There's like, we'll use them as the same example. How is it then that the libraries are being forced to remove books when the National Library Board would not be in support of that?
The American Library Association is fighting this fight in all of the states. Yeah. So, and it's a fight, yeah, because you're fighting state legislatures, and so yeah, and the hope is that there aren't a lot of victories. So can you go to the next one, Rick? So, and this is also an example of the kind of support that they provide, a toolkit of slides that librarians and communities can share with people. So in 2021, there were 729 challenges recorded by OIF, and you can see most of them were books, graphic novels. Just to put it in perspective, in 2022, from January to the end of August, there were already 681 challenges. So 2021 was a record-breaking year in the 20 years they've been tracking challenges, and this year is on track to be to break that record as well. The next one, please. So the impact of the bans, I think ALA President Lessa Pelayo Lozada summed it up. The unprecedented number of challenges we're seeing already this year reflects coordinated national efforts to silence marginalized or historically underrepresented voices and deprive all of us, young people in particular, of the chance to explore a world beyond the confines of personal experience. So, you know, obviously the impact of a ban, it's not just having one child not being able to read a book, it's everybody. And that's the problem. Conversations around appropriate age level, appropriate books with parents is something librarians do all the time. It's a healthy, normal conversation. But when a parent asks to have a title removed for all children, that's a different story. Yes, please. So not surprisingly, most of the challenges, 44%, are taking place in school libraries, but a significant number, 37%, are taking place in public libraries as well. The next one. And 39% of the challenges are coming from parents and 24% from patrons. That would be public library. But you can see 18% are from board and administration. So, you know, when I mentioned the OIF gives confidential support to librarians, it's important because if your board or administration that is overseeing you and is paying your salary is objecting to a book, you want to make sure you have that outside support to help you. So that's a pretty disturbing number, that 18%.
I would think that the board and the board at least would be related to political and religious groups, that there's outside influence on board members to make them have that influence. So that those two groups seem like they'll be one.
Yeah, and we'll look at some examples in Vermont at the end that demonstrate that. Why are things being challenged? The next slide will show the word cloud shows The biggest reason is sexually explicit, but LGBTQ is definitely up there. Critical race theory, woke, anti-police. So you can see a variety of reasons. The next one. Here are the top 10 challenged books in 2021. And you can see five of the 10 are LGBTQ titles. So that community has definitely been the focus of a lot of these challenges and bans. Quite a few of those are graphic novels. On the next slide, we'll just take a look at a couple of them because you can't really read on this one. The number 5 most challenged book is The Hate You Give. And it was challenged for profanity, violence, and it was considered anti-police and indoctrination of a social agenda. This was actually the Vermont Reads title in 2020. So Vermont Humanities, go Vermont. You know, we picked a challenged book as our Vermont Reads. The Dorothy Alling Memorial Library, we did get the grant, working with Carpenter Cars. I believe we gave out 35 or 40 copies of this book, and we ran some programs together. And it's a young adult title, and it was a really interesting conversation to have across generations, which is always wonderful if you can bring multiple generations together to talk about. The next one that I was going to highlight is the 8th most challenged book of 2021, The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. So this was first published in 1970, and Jenna Bush has a book club, and she featured it on the 50th anniversary in 2020. So I think that's probably why it's back here in 2021 as the most challenged. And it's actually, this is the 5th time it's been the most challenged book over the years. So, and its depiction of child sexual abuse and considered sexually explicit were the reasons for the challenges. And the number 1 most challenged book of the year, I don't know if you've heard of it, Gender Queer. It is a graphic novel. And if you're interested in reading any of these books, the library has them. And graphic novels have presented a bigger challenge because they are graphic. You know, if somebody age inappropriate picked up a print book and flipped it open, you know, they're not going to fall upon an image that maybe is not appropriate for their age. And so that is the challenge with graphic novels. And certainly as a library, having your collection well organized, your young adult section a little removed from your juvenile section, it is very helpful in guiding people to youth to appropriate materials for their maturity. So can't happen here. Well, it is happening in Vermont. This is a picture of the drag queen store. They posted it to their Facebook page, and it was picked up by a conservative online commentator who urged their 700,000 Facebook followers to contact the organizers to respectfully express their disgust. So they did, and they basically took out the operations for 2 weeks with the phone ringing and the press, and it was quite something to hear the director talk about it. The calls, some of them were threatening. A lot of them were posing that they were community members from Montpelier, and the library staff finally came up with asking, you know, what did you think about the McDonald's on Main Street in Montpelier? And of course, there's no McDonald's. So if they weren't able to figure out other ways that this is not a community member, that was kind of their litmus test. So it ended up, the program went on, and 100 adults and children had a wonderful time and really enjoyed the story hour. Vermont Library Association also has a committee dedicated to intellectual freedom. And they, they are receiving reports of challenges, not an extraordinary number. But there was an example that was in the paper this year in Chester, which wanted to host a drag queen story hour. And a couple of trustees objected. So they moved the story time to a pizza parlor, and the library director ended up resigning because of the lack of support. So, things are going on. The challenges also come from across the spectrum. A local library also, I don't know if you remember, I think last year, the year before, 5 Dr. Seuss titles, publisher decided to stop publishing them because they had racist images of Black and Asian people. And there was a local library that had those books challenged. For the previous slide, the "It Can't Happen Here" title was a nod to Sinclair Lewis's 1935 book. I don't know if any of you've read it. It's actually based in Vermont, some of the scenes, and it's a cautionary tale about the fragility of democracy, in which an American president becomes a dictator in order to save the nation from welfare cheats, rampant promiscuity, crime, and a liberal press. So it's quite something to read a 1935 title. Yeah. So how does your library respond to challenges? Well, first of all, things rarely in most libraries get to the point of a challenge. It's usually about having a conversation, and it's usually with the parent about guiding their child's reading. And that is up to the parent, and it's usually resolved that way. The best thing any library can do, and ALA recommends this, is to have a strong policy in place so that when someone does challenge, you can point to your policy. So here's a few snippets from our policy, but if you go to the previous one, Rick. Sorry. It is the responsibility of parents or legal guardians to determine what their children, and only their children, may read, use, or borrow. So it is up to the parents. If someone does challenge, we do have a form that they can fill in. I look at the challenge, evaluate, look at professional reviews, take it to the board of directors, make a recommendation. And I know the local library that was dealing with the Dr. Seuss challenge, sometimes it's helpful to appoint an ad hoc committee to look at the challenge to get some outside views. Okay, so the next one, please. Collection development policy is also really important. The board of trustees and the library staff don't have to agree with everything in the collection. It would be a pretty biased collection, being human beings. So we try and make it broad and to represent all points of view. Obviously, we're always looking for authoritative titles, no matter what the point of view. So we're looking at reviews, mainstream reviews, professional library reviews, because as we know, there's a lot of things out there that aren't authoritative. So during any challenge, the books remain on the program or on the shelves, or the program continues as planned. You don't want to remove things from everyone having access while you deliberate on a challenge. So what can you do to protect intellectual freedom? Well, exercise your reading rights. The Hate U Give that I was highlighted before, we actually have a kit keeper. So we have 12 books that anyone in the community can take out for their book club. Stop by the library, check out one of the titles that's being questioned. Definitely you want to stay informed. If you do see a local library facing a challenge, write a letter. at your candidates, whether it's, from library trustee all the way up the ticket, stay informed. And join an organization which supports the freedom to read. UnitedAgainstBookBans.org is one, PEN America, or just, follow them on social media. They always have very interesting, helpful things, so. Does anyone have any thoughts or questions? Yes, Sherry,
As far as electronic copies go, so.
it's a
if
great
there's-
question.
Yeah, so say, go back to Florida. So if there's a kid in a school in Florida who wants a copy of a book, can't they get it from another public library or can't not?
Well, the electronic ebook streamed audio collections in libraries are available to those library patrons. In Vermont, we share a 50,000 collection across about 60 libraries. And because it's such a large collection, we're not picking each title. And the example that you used in Vermont, and that's happening, it's Overdrive. I don't know if anybody reads on Libby Overdrive through the library. Yeah, so there are a couple of library systems where they've pulled the whole collection, all of the electronic books, because the library can't control pulling the LGBTQ titles out or whatever they're objecting to. So, yeah, those I mean, you can't stop everything, but they're trying. They are. Well, Jude.
I was just thinking when I was in college, many decades ago, my English professor decided that he wanted people to read books that, had some kind of controversial issue that we were covering. And so I was assigned Lady Chatterley's Lover. And so when I was home, my dad saw me reading that and he was furious. He said, you can't do that. I said, hey, I'm in college. I have scholarships. You don't pay a cent for my college. I'm reading what my teacher taught me to read, which now seems tame when I think about it.
Your father must have read it or he wouldn't know.
Much better than that, because 2 years later, when I finished, I couldn't find my book anywhere in the house. And I knew I got it. Anyway. They were moving, so I was helping them pack, and I found it in my father's underwear drawer. So this is a long way.
Well, thank you for sharing. But I don't think, part of the reading experience is exploring outside of your bubble. And I don't think there's anyone here who didn't read above their level at some point, hit on something that they didn't understand, was maybe not age appropriate. That's the journey,
And then I went to my local library, and I must have been like in junior high school or something. And I read all the time. I loved reading. And so I decided I wanted to read Mein Kampf by Hitler. And my librarian wouldn't let me read it. She wouldn't give it to me. She said, you're too young to read. Did you read it later? Yep.
Yeah, we do have that on the shelves. Yeah. Yeah.
Was the library ever decide, to ban something by itself, or is it usually to watch out for who's actually reading it and who's appropriate to read it?
Well, you've hit on a couple things there. One is self-censorship.
Right.
So there's so much controversy now. A lot, some librarians in some of these hot communities are maybe not buying genderqueer because they don't want the controversy. So self-censorship is something you want to avoid, but I think it does happen. As far as telling anybody what to read, it is, we'll do readers advisory, but we're not there to police who's reading what in which age group. We keep our collections organized, obviously, so that it's age appropriate for people in the different age groups. But as far as saying you're not going to read that, we're not supposed to do that, to tell you don't read Mein Kampf. you know, because it's the freedom to read, right? That, and the parents are the ones responsible for guiding their children.
Great. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Susan?
So thank you for coming to speak to us. We will be making a donation in your honor to the Connecting Youth Mentoring Program at Williston.
Oh, wonderful. That's such a wonderful program. Thank you.
We have a task for you.
Okay,
You would pick a ticket
okay.
and read the last three numbers on the ticket.
970.
Oh, it's not really me, but I'll take it for Elizabeth.
Oh, there you go. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Tell her.
You guys. Or I can just give to her next week.
Okay, so before we do our fines. I hope everybody who has a Paul Harris brought their pin or their certificate or something, because we want to take a quick picture of the members in the club who have a Paul Harris.
And we should have everybody stand on the other side where it's better lighting, and I'll flip the banners.
Is everybody coming up?
Yeah.
We're gonna go on the other side.
On this
Yeah,
side?
On the other side.
Over here.
Flip these. Nothing like being a little bossy, huh? Would you grab the other one and?